welcome back to my channel, you guys. As y'all can tell by the title below, today I will be answering a few questions and giving a couple of tips about, navigating the Howard process. So make sure you guys go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe to my channel and stay tuned for this video. All right, you guys, so couple things. First, congratulations to HU24 and HU25. This is super exciting. I'm very excited for you guys, and you guys honestly prompted me to do this video because I know I haven't been doing a lot of like Howard videos since we haven't been on campus. But as you guys have been DMing me, asking me questions, I'm like, you know what, it's kind of time for a Q&A. I feel like, older videos, the advice that I was giving has really developed and grown since I've been in school longer, and experienced a little bit more, so I feel like I can speak to a little bit more, and really give you guys some tips. And you guys had a lot of good questions, but it was also like a lot of the same questions, so I'm like, you know what, I'm just gonna do a video and kind of knock everything out. So I'm not even going to be talking too much. I'm gonna go ahead and get into this video. Okay, so I wrote down some things I knew I wanted to talk about because this was kind of like the common questions that you guys were asking me. Okay, so first, a lot of you guys were worrying about, okay, well, first let me say this. Everything that I say in this video are things that I do and things that work for me. So everything that I do may not necessarily work for you. I really feel like college is about finding out like what works for you. What are the best ways for you to study. Can you do early classes? Can you do late classes? Like, you kind of just have to figure out everything as you go along. But I'm going to give you guys some tips that I use that kind of help me to navigate it, and I think you guys should try it. Try it, see if it works for you. If it doesn't, then try something else. But the first thing I'm going to talk about is kind of just like scheduling. So I know for HU25s, I do believe, if they still do it this way, that your schedule is going to be created for you. Your first semester, I think second semester, we ended up creating our own schedule. So as far as creating your schedule, before I went to college, my mom always told me like it's very important that I see my own college scheme, my course scheme, so that I make sure I'm taking all of the right classes, and that way I don't end up being a senior and it's like, oh, I should have took this and now I can't graduate. So I think it's very important for you to keep your class scheme like with you anytime you're creating your schedule. So literally for me, I will upload mine on here, but the scheme is different depending on your major. So I'll put mine right here, and as you guys can see, like, it basically shows all of the classes that I need to take, and some of the classes have prerequisites, and I'll talk a little bit more about that later in the video. But I really do suggest getting your class scheme once you have your major or whatever, and every time you go to create your schedule, make sure you're checking off things as you take it, and make sure that you're taking things that are on that list. I feel like it's okay to take things that aren't on the list, but just know it doesn't count towards your degree. So you really want to take classes that are going to help you to get the credit. Okay, so that's that. So as far as professors, because a lot of you guys are also asking me like, what professors did you take? What professors didn't you like? So I use Rate My Professor heavily. Like, I will go on ratemyprofessor.com. I think that's what it's called. I will also put that on the screen just to make sure I said everything right. But Rate My Professor, I will go on there and read the reviews from students. And so that's kind of how I choose my professors. Also, I feel like once you really get into your major, you'll know more people who have the same major, like whether that's above you or under you, and you'll be able to ask them like, who is a good professor, who should I take, that type of thing. But I do use Rate My Professor, and I feel like I've had pretty good professors my entire time, so I feel like it's actually pretty good. Usually if somebody doesn't have a good rating, then I'm probably not going to take them. So yeah, definitely I would say use Rate My Professor. Okay, the next thing. So first, as far as making your schedule, because a lot of you guys are asking about this, I really wouldn't suggest, if you can help it, if you make your own schedule, to not have big gaps in your schedule. Now, this is just for me personally, but I find it where if I wake up, let's say I have class from 10 to 2 that day, I feel better once it's over. But if I have class, like one class at 10 and then another class at 3, that big gap, like I might go to my room, go to sleep, and I just feel like I get out of school mode. So it's kind of better to me to just get it over with. But then again, I feel like that's one of the things where I feel like it just depends on the person, and you just have to see what works for you better. But I really don't feel like I like having big gaps. I feel like it can be very exhausting because it feels like you're like at school all day, because you might check out at 11 and then it's like, okay, let me go do some homework, or let me go back to my room and go to sleep. But then you got to wake back up for class at 2 or 3. So I really don't like gaps. I feel like if you don't have to have a gap in your schedule, try not to have a gap. The next thing, y'all, and I'm about to insert a TikTok on here. I don't know if they will copyright me for this, but I'm about to show out this TikTok right now.
All the upcoming college freshmen out there, I need y'all to specifically understand one thing. 8 a.m. in high school is thoroughly different than 8 a.m. in college. Thoroughly. Basically,
the TikTok is just saying how 8 a.m. in high school is different from 8 a.m. in college. And y'all, I literally cannot agree with that more. Like, when I was in high school, I probably would have considered myself to be a morning person. And then I got to school and I had an 8 a.m. at school, and I literally hated it. Like, I was so miserable. It was just like the worst thing. Like, if I don't have to take an 8 a.m., then I will not take an 8 a.m. So honestly, like I said, that also goes, you know, is a person by person type thing, because some people probably like having 8 a.m.s and get their things over with early. But I feel like I would have class maybe at 10 or 11 and still be done at like 2 or 3-ish, which was fine with me. Like, that was cool. I feel like that's still early in the day. You still have time to do other things after. But waking up at 7 o'clock in the morning just was not it for me. But also, I'm also like a late night person where I'm usually always up late. I feel like I study and I do my homework better late at night. So that's probably another reason why 8 a.m. didn't work for me. Okay. The next thing is dual enrollment over AP. A lot of you guys are asking me about dual enrollment and AP courses. Again, this is my opinion, but I've also heard a lot of people agree with this. I really feel like dual enrollment is better than AP courses, simply because with the AP course, it's like you can take it, but then you have to score like a 4 or 5 for it to count. With dual enrollment at Howard, as long as you pass the course and it goes as one of the courses like, you know, that they'll take, then you'll be fine. Like, you can get a 73 and you'll be fine and still have that course already done. So I technically feel like dual enrollment was better. In dual enrollment, I took public speaking, which I would have had to take. I took English 1 and English 2, and I also took Spanish. So I needed a foreign language, so I had already got that credit knocked off. I needed English, I already got that credit took off, and I also needed a public speaking. So I got all of those credits taken off, and that was from dual enrollment. I also did AP, but you know, with AP, it's like you have to score either a 4 or 5 on a test, and it's like if you don't, then sometimes they won't take the score. I'm not really sure what score Howard actually takes, but I do think dual enrollment is better than AP. Oh, one more thing about that, and let me connect this back to the scheme thing. So for me, since I did take those courses, I had a meeting with my counselor. You will probably meet with your counselor at least once a year. It's really supposed to be twice a year, once every semester. If you find yourself like, oh, I haven't talked to my counselor, I really suggest that you talk to your counselor. I feel like that's important because they will help you with your schedule. But so this year I met with my counselor and we were kind of just going over my scheme, kind of planning out my next classes for the fall, for spring 2022 and fall 2022, and then spring 2023. But the thing was, when she was looking at it, she was like, since I took dual enrollment courses, the way I was creating my schedule, basically I would have not been a full-time student spring 2023. Therefore, I probably would have lost a lot of my scholarships. So talking to her showed me that basically I just need to take an extra class in these next semesters. That way spring 2023, I basically wouldn't even be a student, because otherwise I would have only had 2 classes, I think, and I wouldn't be a full-time student, and I would have lost my scholarships, and I would have had to pay for those classes out of pocket probably. So I just feel like it's important. That may not have made sense, you guys. Long story short, I say this to say, meet with your counselor and look at that scheme and make sure that you are taking the classes that are on that scheme, because I could have been paying for classes out of pocket had I not met with my counselor. The other thing I want to say, going back to the prereq thing, some of the classes on the scheme will have prerequisite courses, meaning that you cannot take this class until you take this class. It is important for you to take the prereq class early. That way, let's say you get to your senior year and you need to take this class, but this class has a prereq. Now it's like you can't take a prereq at the same time as the other class, if that makes sense. You have to take it before, get the grade, and then take the next one. So if you end up being a senior and you have to take this class but it has a prereq and you didn't take the prereq, now you're at school an extra year. So that's why I really think it's important, y'all. Like, I just feel like I can't emphasize that enough, because I know people who have had to do like an extra semester or had to pay for a class out of pocket because they didn't have all their classes fulfilled or they had a prereq. So really make sure that you look at your scheme. You can literally look it up once you type in your major. Type in your major, put the scheme, Howard University, and it'll come up. If it doesn't come up, email your counselor, ask your counselor for it. But yeah, make sure you're checking off the classes as you go along and just really take care of that. I feel like that's very important. Okay, the next thing I want to talk about is changing your major, because a lot of y'all were also asking me about how did I change my major, was it a long process, that type of thing. So changing my major was not hard at all, but then again, it just goes back to staying on your stuff and being very organized. Someone who DM'd me, I told them like what I will do. I am very organized when it comes to like paperwork and things like that, because I feel like it's so easy for stuff to get lost, and then it's like, oh, I didn't get this. Oh, did you sign this? And it's like, yeah, I signed it. And it's like, oh, well, I don't have it. So I feel like to avoid all of that, literally, y'all, I take pictures of every single document that I sign. I take pictures of it. And even like if I would take a scholarship check-in and they would give me the receipt, I have a red folder where all of my important documents are. Literally every single form that like I fill out and things like that are in that red folder. That way, if I ever have to go back to something, I can just pull it out, and then I still have pictures of everything. So I would literally suggest take pictures of literally every single important document, form, like anything that you sign. Take pictures of it, have copies of things, have all your stuff organized in a folder just in case you need it, because that has literally saved me a lot of times. Because actually, you guys, quick little story time, at one point I went and gave them a scholarship check and they applied it to the next semester, and people were kind of telling me don't do that, but I didn't want to hold the money. So I was like, you know, it's okay, like just apply it to the next semester. The next semester came and the money wasn't off my account, and I'm like, okay, but I gave y'all the check. They couldn't find it. Okay, well, cool. Pull out the red folder. I have the check receipt. Show them it. They fixed it. So literally just be organized, y'all. Take pictures of stuff, have your important folders, document. The other thing is take down people's names. I think that's also important, because sometimes you have to hold people accountable, and that's just, I just feel like these are just life tips in general. But if one person tells you this and then you go to someone else and you're like, oh, somebody told me this, and then they're like, who told you that? Instead, it'll be like, oh, this person told me, and they're like, okay, you know what, have them send me an email. Like, I feel like the conversation just goes a lot better when you actually have names. You can hold people accountable, and they can really see that you're on your stuff. Anyways, back to the question. Changing my major was not hard at all. I remember all I had to do was like get this form. I can't remember who I got the form from. Maybe I got it from a counselor, or maybe I got it from the administration building. It was one of the two. But you have to get like the form to change your major, and then I end up having to get the school that I was leaving from to sign off to the school that I was going into to sign off. Once I did all of that, I had to take it back to the administration building, gave it to them, and they fixed it so quickly. So it's literally not a hard process. You just have to get that paperwork, fill out that paperwork, turn in the paperwork, get a copy like I told y'all. So yeah, but also if you are undecided as a freshman, I feel like that's completely fine, because you're going to be taking like your core classes anyway, so it's not really affecting too much. A lot of people don't start to like declare their major for real until sophomore year, if not, well, yeah, like sophomore year. And speaking of declaring majors, a lot of you guys are also asking me about minors. I'm sorry, I'm kind of all over the place, but I'm just answering based off what questions I remember like from my DMs. But as far as the minors, I don't feel like we really start declaring minor until maybe sophomore, second semester. I did declare my minor as a freshman, but that was just because that's when I switched my major. I had just did it at the same time. But I don't really feel like people really declare their minor until sophomore, maybe junior year. Don't quote me on that, but it wasn't as a freshman. They didn't have a minor, I don't think. So yeah, I don't feel like you have to be rushed to get a minor as a freshman. Okay, next thing. So these are some tips as to, I'm sorry y'all, there's just glue on my finger, it's annoying me, but these are just tips as to how I keep my grades up. Because a lot of you guys are also asking like, how am I involved on campus and I do YouTube and, you know, still keep my grades up. So I have a 4.0, you guys, and I'm like very strict on myself about prioritizing my work and just keeping my grades up. Like, that's one of the most important things to me. One, because I am on scholarship, but also I know like when I'm applying for internships and other opportunities, they're gonna ask for my GPA, and it's just best to have a higher one. So some things that I will say as far as that. First, when you get your schedule, I literally have done this since a freshman. As soon as I get my schedules, I literally go class by class, and once the classes get on Blackboard, and I go to the syllabus. On the syllabus will be all of the assignments that are going to be due. If the assignments are not on there, then I'm pretty sure your professor will tell you. And most of the professors that don't have the assignments on the syllabus, they usually aren't that strict, so I wouldn't even worry. But the ones that are like very organized and strict and like on their stuff will have it on the syllabus. So like I was saying, usually the professors that are pretty strict will have everything detailed and organized on the syllabus. And I will literally go in my agenda. I have to have an agenda, and I have an actual like book agenda. I mean, you can easily put an agenda on your phone, whichever one is best for you, but I actually like to write things out. So I have an actual agenda, and I go through and I write down all the assignments for the year. That way, as I'm going through, I will see when things are due. Because one thing I will say is that people probably tell you this, but like sometimes professors really do not remind you about assignments because it is on the syllabus. So it's just best to already have it written down. So I'll go through for all of my classes, write down all of the assignments for the year. Also in my agenda, I'll write down their office hours, what time their office hours are, and write down their email, just so everything is kind of like accessible to me and I can just go to it real quickly if I need it. So that's one thing that I do, and I feel like it helps me to stay organized. I procrastinate, but I think it helps me to procrastinate less, because sometimes I'll just knock out some things, but I still do procrastinate. So definitely write down all your assignments in your agenda, or just make sure that you're checking your syllabus at least once a week, like just going back checking at least once a week. The next thing I will say is that understanding your professor is going to be very important as far as getting like good grades. And what I mean by that is every professor is going to be different. They're going to be different as far as how they grade. They're going to be different as far as whether they do extra credit or not. They're going to be different as far as whether they take late work. They're going to be different as far as how many quizzes and projects and things they give you. Every professor is going to be different. You just have to learn your professor and adjust and move however the professor moves. So what I mean by that, short story time. This last semester I took a psychology course, and I had took psychology 1 the semester before that, and I liked it, so I decided to take another psychology course. I think this one was called Psychology, Child Abuse and Neglect. Our professor was like very, I would say that she was pretty strict, but she was also very organized, and like you knew what she wanted from the beginning. So we used to have to do like these weekly journal type things, and I remember when I did the first one, I'm pretty sure I ended up getting a C on it, y'all. And I'm not gonna lie, I was definitely like, what in the world, because I had thought I had did good on it. But I ended up emailing her like, hey, on this next one, when you grade, can you give me feedback? And so she starts grading and giving feedback like, you need to go into more detail about this, you need to ask more questions, source from the PowerPoint more, and things like that. And she even had rubrics. So once I was able to really see what she was looking for, I could literally give her that, and I ended up getting an A in this class. But in the beginning, y'all, I thought I wasn't going to get an A, but it was simply because, you know, I wasn't turning in assignments how she liked assignments to be turned in. But I say that to say, you just have to learn your professors. If you start out not doing so well in the course, that is fine, because you still have a whole semester to bring your grade up. But make sure that you are meeting with your professor, asking how can you improve your assignments. If you do ask for extra credit, I feel like there's a way to ask. So for us, I remember basically she had maybe, let's say 15 journals we had to do, but she was like, we only have to do 10 out of the 15. And so I ended up asking her like, hey, if we end up doing 12 out of the 15, can we get extra credit? That type of thing. So I just feel like, show initiative. If you feel like you're not doing so well, ask questions and really get feedback so you can know how to move in the beginning. This is just kind of how I navigate all of my classes. Participate in class, because that's going to show them that you are taking initiative, and they'll probably be more likely to give you extra credit. Or let's say you have a 79, they'll be more likely to give you an 80 if you're showing initiative, showing up in class, talking in class, meeting with them and things like that. So I just think it's important to understand a teacher, because then again, you'll have teachers who will give you an A on the paper just because you completed the paper. You see what I'm saying? But then you'll have other teachers who are like, oh no, you need to have it in MLA, you need to have this, 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 and this, or you know, you won't get an A. So you just have to learn the teacher and then move according to how the teacher goes. Don't ever feel like just because this teacher allowed this, then this one is too, because they're going to be completely different. But it just goes back to looking at the syllabus. Rubrics will definitely help. I know for some of my film classes, we usually don't have rubrics because they don't want us to be like restricted, you know, to anything. So in that type of case, that's where you will really want to do like ask for advice to see how you can do better in the future. But those are just some things I would really recommend as far as how I get, you know, A's. So yeah. Is that the only thing I would say for A's? Studying, like I told y'all, I'm a procrastinator, so I'm not going to sit here and say like, oh, I go home and study the material that we learn every single day, because I do not do that. I will wait till the week of the test and then I'll study. I usually use flashcards, which kind of helps me. I'll like go over old PowerPoints, that sort of thing. But yeah, I usually try to do like my best on all the other assignments, just in case I don't do so well on the test. That way it doesn't really make my grade go down. So just making sure that you're not turning in things late. Like I said, going to class, showing up for class. What else would I say? That's really probably all I would say as far as getting an A. Like attendance, participation, asking for advice, really following the rubric. If there's a rubric and you know you want to get an A, you better check off every single thing in order to get an A. Like, period. That's literally all there is to it. And if there is no rubric and they just kind of freely grade it, go back and ask them for advice and how can you do better. And also maybe even ask them, hey, can I redo it and make corrections? Like, you just got to be willing to ask. Don't be afraid to ask, because if you want that A, you got to go get that A. So that's probably all I would say as far as like grades and things like that. Housing tips, and this will probably be the last thing I'll talk on. Anything that I didn't really cover, just let me know in the comments and I can do a part 2 of the video. But housing tips, some of you guys are asking me, you know, about the roommate situation. What can I bring, what can I not bring, that sort of thing. So first of all, you guys, I did stay in the Harriet Tubman Quadrangle, which is the communal freshman dorm. I really did enjoy staying there. Yes, we do share a bathroom with our hallmates, but it wasn't a problem for me. Like, it was literally fine. But then again, like, if you know you don't want to share a restroom, then I would say stay in CHN. As far as what you can bring and what you can't bring, I don't remember exactly off the top of my head, but when it's time, they're going to send you guys a list. Trust me, they're going to send you a list with the stuff that you can bring and the stuff you can't bring. Someone asked me about microwave and refrigerator. I believe they told us we couldn't bring our own, if I remember correctly, but they end up giving us a company that we can rent a microwave and a refrigerator from, which is what I think I did. So I don't even really worry about that, because you can just rent it from the place that they give you. You might even can buy one, I'm not sure, but they're gonna give y'all all this information when the housing stuff comes out. As far as roommates, for us, like I told you guys, we weren't actually able to just like pick a roommate. You could request a certain roommate, but you'll also fill out a questionnaire type thing where it'll match you with somebody who is compatible. So if you know you like your room this temperature, you're gonna put that on there, and the person who you get matched with will more than likely also like the room that temperature. Also, you guys will end up, whoever your roommate ends up being, you guys will fill out a roommate agreement, and if things in the roommate agreement are broken, you'll address that with your RA. And eventually, like, if things keep getting broken, then they will take you out the room. But that's why it's important to really put stuff in the roommate agreement that you know it's like, okay, if you do this, like, I just can't even live with you. Put that stuff in the agreement, because it's gonna come in handy when it's time. Like, if the person starts, you know, doing stuff that you knew you wouldn't be able to live with, it's gonna be a time where you're gonna have to bring that roommate agreement back up, and just hope that it's in there so that you guys can go ahead and, you know, split, get moved out, whatever case may be. But I think that was all as far as the questions. Let me go look. I'm gonna look at my DMs real quick just to make sure I didn't really miss any major things. A lot of you guys were also asking about the application process, but I have a video on that already. I'll link it in the description box below, where I really talked about my portfolio, the essay, resume, recommendation letters. I have a video on that already, so I'll just link that in the description box. So yeah, I don't really see anything else, but like I said, if y'all have some questions that I didn't answer, put it in the comments below, and I might make a part 2, or I might just respond to y'all in the comments. But this basically concludes this video. I just kind of wanted to address most of those questions, because those were the most common ones that I was seeing, and I wanted to just answer it on a video. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Again, congratulations if you got accepted. Hopefully we'll be back in the fall. It's looking very promising, so you know, I'll see you guys very soon. Make sure you guys go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe to my channel, and stay tuned for the next video.